What's up, YouTube? Let's talk about Voxengo Elephant. So Voxengo Elephant is a mastering grade limiter slash maximizer. It kind of sits nicely in between those kind of really high-end limiters with all the settings that you would ever need, and a really simple and easy to use turn one dial to smash it kind of limiter, you know, similar to the Waves Ultra Maximizer type of deal. The cool thing about it is, you know, it kind of sits in between both worlds. It allows you to dive in and get really in depth with those settings, but also it's kind of very easy to use for those who might not need those settings, and it comes with a bunch of really high-end algorithms that sound amazing just to start off with. And in true Voxengo style, the metering, readouts, and all sorts of visual representation is fantastic. So this video is sponsored by Voxengo, so I'm going to try stay away from any of the kind of too subjective opinion-based stuff and just show you guys the capabilities, and you guys can be the judge. But yeah, I just want to also say thanks to Voxengo for supporting my channel and sponsoring this video. Let's dive into it. So like I said, the plugin that we're going to be looking at today is Voxengo Elephant. It's an incredibly transparent limiter with some really, really cool core ideas behind it. So what I want to do here is I've got a track that I've been working on for for a couple of episodes with sound design stuff and a couple of streams. I actually want to play this track while I tweak these settings so you can have a look at, you know, how visual this plugin is. It gives you a lot of representation of what's happening, but at the same time how simple and easy it is to use if you don't want to dive into those high-end limiter settings. You know, often while I'm producing a track, I'm not thinking in a mastering mindset. I don't want to dive in and tweak the kind of like transient shape and time of the transient response of the limiter and that kind of thing. I kind of just want to hear what it's going to sound like when it's been limited. So it's an incredibly easy thing to use in a simple mode where you can kind of just choose one of these algorithms and it kind of predefines most of those, you know, high-end settings for you. The idea behind the plugin is that you generally just need to worry about the one parameter over here. That's this in gain. That's basically reducing the threshold and maximizing your signal. So check this out. The track is playing, and we can see that we've got about minus 12 dB or so of headroom over here. So the cool thing about this is, you know, like I said, it's very simple and easy to use if you just want to, you know, quickly hear what something is going to sound like when it's been maximized. Without diving too in-depth with the settings. Here at the bottom, we've actually got a graph which gives us a readout of the amount of gain reduction, but also we can have a look at the exact waveform representation, you know, the difference of the waveform going in and going out. You know, it does have that kind of like high-end, you know, analytical side to it if you do want to dive in there and get analytical with it. But like I said, is you can actually go in and tweak these kind of more advanced settings if you need. It's got all of these parameters, and you can save presets of different modes, etc. You know, just for kind of quickly limiting stuff or quickly, you know, maximizing or mastering stuff. I use the term mastering in quotes. So in this video, I kind of want to outline how transparent this plugin is, but it's got a particular setting here which makes it very, very easy to, you know, tell how much transparency is actually going on. So this is the eval setting. What it does is it evaluates the volume of the input and compares it to the volume of the output. So what it allows you to do is it allows you to kind of tweak these settings. It gain matches the difference. So you're able to easily A/B test what it sounds like without having to worry about the difference in gain, if that makes sense. And often when you're using something like limiting and that kind of thing, is the gain is what makes it sound better, but in actual fact, you're not taking into account that you're squashing the dynamics of the sound itself. I hope you guys are following. Let me give you an audio representation of what I'm talking about here. So this way, you know, using this eval control, we're very easily able to see the difference, you know, what the input and output of our limiter, you know, the difference between those two signals, yellow being the input and blue being the output. So if you have a look here, what's happening is, you know, this very, very peaked sound is kind of getting clipped just below that signal. So it's rounding off those peaks ever so slightly. And I guess that is kind of the, you know, that's the audibility or transparency of your limiting, is how much that signal is being changed, if that makes sense. So the idea here is to dial in these settings and listen to what it sounds like on and off, bypass the limiting, and try get it to sound as transparent as possible with still taking into account the fact that you are gaining it up by 12 dBs or whatever. That is super, super transparent. I can barely hear the difference. At this point in time, I can't hear the difference. So I also want to quickly outline here that this plugin has 8 times oversampling. So what that means is the calculations inside the plugin are done at a much higher resolution. I guess this is a simplification of what's actually going on. So this reduces aliasing and that kind of thing, which is generally not audible, but for something like mastering, where you have the CPU capabilities, it's not a full mix with hundreds of plugins, then I generally recommend setting your stuff as higher oversampling as it can go. One thing to note is not all plugins have oversampling capabilities, so that's a huge plus. Although I guess, the ear can't really hear that much, but, when we start really smashing it, I guess we could probably hear a bit of difference there. Anyway, I want to outline, going a little bit into the crazy territory. Let's start looking at really increasing this to the point where it would be way audible in other limiters. What do you hear? How transparent does that sound to you? Let's have a look at this gain reduction graph, and this is gonna freak you guys out a little bit to see how much gain reduction is actually happening on the signal, yet it still sounds super, super clean. So keep in mind, this is way overdoing it. I'm trying to compare how transparent this plugin can be. While we still got it kind of smashed here, I quickly want to run through comparisons. So what I want to do is I want to load up a couple of limiters, maximizers, just a bunch of stuff that I actually have, and then try get them similar levels, and then we can compare which one, similar amounts of gain reduction, and then we can compare which one sounds the most transparent. Maybe you guys can let me know in the comments what you think. So what do you guys think? So I felt like OZONE was pretty good, but Elephant knocks it out the park hands down. They all felt a little bit boxy, whereas Elephant still felt like it had that full dynamics. So like I said, there are several different modes built in. There's clipper modes, all sorts of EL Uni, EL4 I think are the new ones that's been introduced in version 4. But that being said, is you can actually go in here, like I was saying earlier, and you can tweak these to exactly how you want. You know, if you're one of those really finicky mastering engineers, you can take an algorithm and further tweak it and then save it as a preset. Let's say here, add preset, let's call this glitch 1. We can come in here and just recall that preset that we made as a mode. So this is really, really cool for creating custom limiter modes. If you really, really want to fine tune a sound to get something very specific, or to get that kind of like release times and stuff very, very specific, you can do that, and then you can recall it every time you open the plugin, which is incredibly cool. It's got an automatic release mode, or you can actually tweak your own release mode over here by enabling this parameter. It's also got a DC filter. For those who don't know what DC is, it's the amount of upward or downward imbalance there is in a waveform. So that can help to filter that out or to correct that a little bit. And then it's got dithering, which is basically the amount of stuff added to the output signal to kind of smooth out the amount of quantization distortion in the digital render. But as far as I know, most DAWs do have a good quality dithering system built in. Unless you know what you're doing, I wouldn't touch that button. But that's just my take on it. Again, like I said, in true Voxengo style, you've got metering in any shape or form that you need. You've got LUFS metering, K12, which is another popular one, all sorts of different stuff. You've got graphs with both gain reduction and wave. So super, super handy plugin and super easy to use as well. Very intuitive. And, you know, for those who just want that kind of like ultra maximizer style stuff, you can literally just, you know, use this one parameter to kind of squash your headroom to boost the signal, if that makes sense. See how handy that eval is. So what I was doing there is I tweaked these user parameters here, trying to create like my own preset and stuff. And what I've done here is I tweaked this transient shape, and you can clearly hear when you compare the plugin bypassed and on, you can clearly hear that difference in the transient of the kick, and it's kind of affected it in a bad way. So I want to dial down those settings, which I did now. Awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed that. Let me know what you think in the comments. A big thanks to Voxengo for supporting me and sponsoring this video. And as usual, if you liked this video, hit that like button. If you want to see more of this kind of stuff, hit that subscribe button. See you guys next time. Cheers.